So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our Planet Friendly Schools webinar. I'm here, Rupert Aker, with my colleague Will Markham, and today we want to give you an introduction to the Planet Friendly Schools project, which is funded by the European Union's Erasmus Plus funding. And I'm just going to start the slides now. So first of all, we want to introduce the theme of Planet Friendly Schools. Then also consider how your school can start running projects on the theme of climate change. Obviously, climate change is a really important subject. A lot of schools and a lot of pupils are interested in the theme. So we're hoping that the Planet Friendly Schools project can give some inspiring ideas which you might want to run in your own school. As I was saying, it's funded by Erasmus and it involves 9 countries from across Europe, the UK being one of them with Food for Life. We've also got Austria, the Czech Republic, Bulgaria, Denmark, Germany, Italy, Poland, and Slovenia. So quite a nice range of countries, and all the countries involved are in some way interested in, I suppose, changing climate issues through food. We're working with NGOs and with universities and with small consultancies in these countries to try and gather best practice and to share good examples from each country about climate change projects in schools. So first of all, what is a planet-friendly school? And I think probably this is a question which we would answer by suggesting it's a school which is trying to engage pupils and the wider community in projects which can lead to a more planet-friendly way of living. So we've divided that into a number of sections. So here you see we've got 3 main topics: food, growing, and environmental. And I guess these are really because as Food for Life, we're working very much in the area of food and growing and how that in fact impacts on the environment. But also we're looking at projects which are working in school, projects which link to the local community, and projects which join up and work on a more national or regional basis, so that you can actually scale your work from a small in-school project to a project which reaches into the community, to then maybe motivating people on a much wider level to get involved in climate change issues. So some examples here, if you're looking at a project around food in schools, this could be a sensory food tasting exercise, an activity for children to try and discover a bit more about seasonal and local food on their doorstep. A growing one might be a growing project in the school grounds. An environmental project might be something to plant, for example, bee-friendly flowers in the school playground and encourage more mini bees and bees to live there. When you're reaching into the community, there are some food projects like school farmers markets, where you might run a farmers market in the school at the end of the school day. Grandparent gardening, where you can invite older people in the area to come and help with gardening projects in school. Or you might do some environmental projects such as tree planting. So when you're scaling up onto a more national or regional basis, there's some projects such as Food for Life, which work very much around the area of food. You might have some growing projects like the RHS gardening campaign, or the environmental projects such as forest schools and eco schools. So all of these are projects which involve a large number of schools and encourage them to take part in activities which make change on a larger scale. So I think what we're trying to do is find ways in which we can take examples of these types of projects in all the countries and share those examples so that schools in different countries can learn about what's been done elsewhere, and hopefully that will inspire them to start a journey on making their own school a bit more planet friendly. So to start with, we thought we would just take a look at a couple of examples we've been working with. So I think, as we were saying, probably the first stage of becoming a planet friendly school is to start planning a small scale project in your own school. And we've got a few examples here of ones which we've found and are promoting on our Planet Friendly School website. And we'll give a link to the website at the end. It's very much a work in progress, but you can see examples from all the countries on there at the moment, and these will be developed more over the next 18 months. So this is a project in the Czech Republic which looks at school waste. So it's a food project working in a school where pupils audit the amount of waste from their canteen and then work together to produce an action plan on how they might reduce it. So it's a nice one, again, links into Food for Life, school meals, links into making sure we're not wasting food. And I guess that's got quite an interesting area to work with when we're talking about climate change and sustainability, because preventing and reducing food waste is one of the best ways we can conserve our natural resources and reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. Moving on to looking at a school growing project. I know a lot of Food for Life schools are going to be running a growing project in their grounds, and this one is Greenfields Community School, and they've got a nice outside area which includes both kitchen and wildlife gardens with 8 raised beds, a wildflower meadow and copse, and also an area which they run forest school activities in. And I think that's quite a typical example of a school which is doing both growing and environmental stuff in their school grounds. So again, in terms of meeting climate change objectives, the growing engages pupils with where their food comes from, and it allows them to learn a bit more about minimising impact on the planet, hopefully growing more seasonal and local produce. So a school environment project. Now we're going over to our partner in Germany, in Cologne, where there's an upcycling project where we're taking, I suppose, discarded and forgotten things from within the school, and then creating new things out of them. So reusing old items such as maps and textbooks, and all sorts of things to create lampshades, paper bags and such like to sell in the school community. So I think it's, again, a nice way of trying to work on the adage about reduce, reuse, recycle, and by upcycling redundant materials, students can develop a new behaviour and learn to reuse unwanted items. And I think most schools have probably got a corner or some cupboards stuffed full of stuff which can maybe be reused and sold and give the pupils new skills and inspiration. So I guess we've got a top tip here, which would be to start with a small planet-friendly project in your own school, like we've seen, as a first step on your journey. And maybe look at trying to include one relating to food, another relating to growing, and a third on an environmental issue. Really just to try and give a range of projects in school which can all help tackle climate change issues and inspire the children to do things themselves at home to really change their behaviour. And also, it's really good to engage your pupils and the wider community to design a project which works well for your own school. And every school's different. Every school's got different resources, different spaces. They've got a different community they serve. So it's really important to try and find a way in which you can really engage with the community you are based in. And there are some key steps which Misden Church of England School developed for their Planet Friendly School, and I'm just going to give a quick overview of that now to give you some ideas on how you might engage the wider school with your work. So I think the first step here was really to discuss climate change and environmental issues with the classes and discover really a bit more about what the school could do to help change things. And again, I think the idea of trying to engage pupils, get them to think about the issues is really important. And this is an ideal way you can link in with various curriculum topics by looking at climate change and making it relevant by talking about your own school. So this was done by doing some internet research for inspiring planet-friendly schools around the country and wider and further afield, and also looking at exciting projects which could provide inspiration. And it's quite interesting that I think children have got such imagination that they'll come up with all sorts of great ideas, and then you can help them understand which ones are ones which they can conduct themselves easily and which ones might be for the longer term. So things like car charging points is a great idea but could cost a lot of money, but growing some nice wildflowers for bees is something which you could actually do easier in school. It's quite interesting as well that to engage children designing their own eco-school. So Misden set the pupils a task of designing their own planet-friendly school using models, drawings and films and descriptions to capture their ideas. So they can then go away, think about what their ideal eco-school would look like, and come back and present it and share their amazing ideas. And there's a little film which I'm going to show, which basically demonstrates Monty's particular model which he created for an eco planet-friendly school. I'm just play now.
This is our eco school, and there are some electric solar panels up on the roof there, and there are some electric cars. The school bus is electric, and there's an electric car and an electric car charger. And the solar panels are taking the solar from the sun and is taking it into the school. And we're growing food so that the trucks don't have to come over and use all that fuel and making climate change. There's a pig eating all of the food waste. We've planted some trees because it's good for the planet and good for wildlife. People aren't dumping rubbish in the sea. They're keeping it clean. And the ice won't melt because people are stopping climate change.
Great, so that's an example of a little model made with Lego and toys and bits and bobs to try and show what an eco-school in the ideal world could look like. And once you've collected those ideas from pupils, then you can maybe discuss which project ideas could be done now and which may be a little bit too ambitious. And that way you can create a planet-friendly school action plan that everyone can get involved with. And then I guess the fifth step is to really work with the pupils, parents and the school community to put some ideas into practice. So if we again look at Misden, they looked at some of the ideas which were coming through from pupils, and they identified the creation of a wildflower garden to create habitats for wildlife as something which they could start working on straight away. So they found a small sort of area in the school grounds which was disused, and they worked particularly with some financial support from the Friends of the School group, labour from parents, and some materials donated by local suppliers to create a small little wildflower garden. So I think once you've created a small in-school project, you might then want to think about how to get involved in a bigger movement with some more community-based or national projects. So community projects are great to just try and involve other people. There might be the community around the school with parents and grandparents and people in the local area, or it might be other groups in the community who can help deliver some projects with you. And this project in Vienna is a local beekeeping group which are working with school children to do a beekeeping project after school on that weekends. It's called Bee Kids. And again, we've got a film of the activities just to share the ideas which we're running in Austria.
My name is Gregor. I'm the chairman of the beekeeping organization Beenev Invest. We have the project Beekeeping with the kids, and we have some targets. And one is to have a better contact to the nature. Normally, 2 children shares 1 bee colony. When we beekeep, we can see the changes in the nature. From year to year, we see less water. It means it's going drier and drier in the springtime. That means the plants are blooming, but there is no nectar, and this is not normal for the nature. That means the food for the winter time was going less and less, and that means when we didn't take sugar inside, all of the bee colonies would die. That means no chance for seeing the springtime next year because of the change of the climate.
My name is Philip, and I've been beekeeping for about 4 to 5 years. And I do it as a hobby, and because I think they are very important, pollinating different fruits, vegetables, and yeah, that's why I beekeep.
Bees are very important for the world because they pollinate the flowers, and then they comes fruits that we can eat.
My name is Anton, and I work with bees since 3 years. I like honey, so it's really, really good, and for the climate it's good too, so yeah, I really enjoy it.
My daughter started coming beekeeping about 3/4 of a year ago. She enjoys working with the bees and seeing how it changes over the season. Without the bees, plants would die, and because they die, animals would die, and the human race would get to an end. My daughter's learning this from the start, from looking at the bees and making sure that they are really well kept.
My son is Corbinian, and he's already here for 5 years now. And what I really like, that he learns about the connections in nature. Here you really can feel it. You can make the experience and share it with other friends.
So that's a good example of a community project, and there's lots of beekeeping associations around the country which do outreach work and like to support people in keeping bees. So that's a really good way in which you can actually reach out to your local community. So moving on to national projects, I think this is a way in which you can scale up activity by working on a theme with schools from all over your local area or nationally. And Food for Life is an example of a national programme which looks at sustainable food. But other projects in the UK include things like eco schools and forest schools. And we'll have many more examples from other countries on our Planet Friendly School website. And I think what we're trying to achieve here is trying to encourage schools to work on a much broader basis, to join up and to share best practice, and then hopefully make a bigger change throughout the whole country. So we are setting up a website called planetfriendlyschools.eu, which has a whole range of examples on there, and also a Facebook page at Planet Friendly Schools, which will enable schools to maybe share best practice, and we can share good examples from the countries involved. So the Planet Friendly Schools website is currently being developed by the partners. We're adding good practice from different countries on there. You can look at those and hopefully get inspired with different ideas from different places. Find ones which maybe suit what you'd like to do or the type of school you have, and then see if you can actually develop some projects in school which which come from that. And please let us know what you're doing. If there's any good examples which you'd like us to share, we'll always be pleased to hear from you. And I think our Facebook page is a really good place to do that. So that's the end of our presentation. And please let us know if you have any questions or feedback.